Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel at the start of a brand new week and a rather big week for Celtic. Jackie, 24th of January, is it too late to say a Happy New Year to you? Can I still get away with that, guys? I'm going to say it anyway, Jackie, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, yeah. A lot happened since then, but no, Happy New Year, guys.
It's good to have you on. John, you're not getting a Happy New Year because I see you pretty much every day, but I will say it's good to have you back on this kind of Jackie slot, if we want to call it that. It's been a while.
It's been a while in the Jackie slot, the original trio on the 67 Hail Hail channel, so we're back and in business. Yeah, it's weird because I think the last time I had Jackie on, I don't think we'd signed any new players or anything. Nothing as exciting as that, so it's been quite a few weeks in the world of Celtic.
Yeah, Jackie, you were at the game on Saturday. What did you make of it overall?
Yeah, I thought it could have been more comfortable, the chances they had. I think it's the first time I've seen Ange look a little bit sad, if you like. I think Callum's been a big blow for him, with his injury. And I think, when you go to these games, you just want to get the job done and make sure he's all right, especially with the games that he's got coming up and the importance of them.
It was just a case of getting through, John, wasn't it? I mean, we did the job. It wasn't pretty in the second half. It got a wee bit nervy in the last 10 minutes, but we did the job. We're through to the next round and we move on. Is that the way we can summarise?
I mean, we've seen those cup games, countless times over the years at Celtic. I don't think it's ever easy, when we go away to one of these lower league teams. It always seems to end up tight. There's only ever a couple of goals in it. They got themselves back into the game on Saturday. We should have put it away, as Jackie said. I agree with Jackie, though. I did pick up on kind of a bit of dismay from Ange, especially with that McGregor news. He sounded gutted about that when I was listening to his interviews. And I bet that's a decision that he was swithering on before the game of whether to start McGregor or not. He made 5 changes. That's quite a lot regardless of the opposition. We needed a bit of leadership in the team, but you just got a sense of kind of frustration and a tinge of regret that McGregor picked up what looks to be a damaging injury.
I think the latest is that he's awaiting results of a scan. There are certainly fears that it could be a fractured cheekbone or a broken jaw. A bit of the kind of Henrik Larsson 2003 vibes about it. And Larsson, as Jackie will know, was kept out for a good while with that. Although I seem to remember he made a bit of a miraculous recovery in the end and scored against Liverpool. But it seems like he's going to be missing for some crucial matches here, Callum McGregor, that is, Jackie, and it seems like that's going to be, yet another big blow to Celtic.
Yeah, I think, as John touched it, maybe that was in Ange's mind before the game, who to rest, who to not, but, I kind of said at the time that Callum does make the team tick, the tempo of the game, and starts things off and drives the team on, so it's a big loss. You're hoping it's not going to be too long that he's out for, but it didn't look good. And when you seen the instant back and just the way Callum went off, it did look pretty bad.
It just seems like we can't catch a break at all with injuries this season, John. Kyogo, when he's brought on again in that Real Betis game, 5 minutes after that he's almost pulling up and he's off. McGregor, Jota, probably our best player this season, gets injured and misses some key matches. We managed to kind of hobble through them, but we have gone through a couple of periods this season when we've had a number of injury crisis, and it seems like we're kind of approaching that territory again when you add in, the fact Maida and Rogic are going to be away, David Turnbull's still out, Kyogo's obviously, it seems like he's going to miss the next few matches. I mean, those are 4 or 5 pretty key players you're missing straight away.
Yeah, I think the thing about the McGregor ones is it's almost a freak injury. It's not something you can kind of almost legislate for. I know you can argue you should have had more rotation in the team, but as I said, I think 5 changes is a lot. And I wasn't looking at the team sheet on Saturday and thinking, oh, what's he playing McGregor for? That's ridiculous. The Kyogo one was even more frustrating, I feel, because that injury, that kind of hamstring injury, can come as a result of overuse or overplaying him, and then continuing to play him perhaps before he was ready kind of has contributed to him being out even longer. So that was a more frustrating situation for me, and something that Ange could maybe shoulder a bit of criticism for. The McGregor one was just a freak injury, but it doesn't change the fact that he's missing. And obviously it's a bitter blow. Well, all the players going off in international duty, we bring someone like O'Riley in, and it looks like he'll have to have a baptism of fire almost. So none of it's ideal, but this is the kind of stuff that you need to go through. This happens to a lot of teams. It's not just Celtic. I don't think it's a particularly bad luck thing on Celtic. This is the kind of thing you need to overcome if you want to compete in multiple tournaments across the course of a season. So Celtic just need to get on with it and pick themselves up for Wednesday night. Are you concerned about the next 3 games, Jackie? Do you think this Celtic team, this squad as it stands, has enough in them to get 9 points from 9 over the next 3 games?
I think throughout the season when they've struggled, look at certain games and you think, they've won a few of the games didn't have a recognised striker. And they're playing Tumble through the middle or Abada through the middle, and they've came up and and they've produced when you think they're going to struggle. So I would never write them off. I think they've got a good mentality about them. And it has been a testing season. I think they have been more unlucky than anything else. I get what you're saying, like Callum's is a freak incident which can happen. For me, the amount of muscular injuries, I think, is just the players adapting to the way the manager plays, and the tempo he wants to play at. You've got to be fit and you've got to be able to handle the demands of that. So they have had a lot of hamstring injuries throughout the season, which you could say are preventable. Muscular injuries are preventable.
Do you think that those injuries will kind of clear up as the team gets used to playing under Ange? Do you think it is like that adaptation? And we saw it at Liverpool a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Leeds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think similar. With Klopp first came in at Liverpool, a lot of injuries, a lot of players with hamstrings, and it takes time to adjust to that. If you look at certain players at the start of the season, and look at boys like Ralston in the first game I see him against. The European game, I thought he was Michelin, at Celtic Park. I thought after 50 minutes, I thought he was gone. His legs. He actually one that came down and he just kind of fell, didn't know, what to do, and he just sort of collapsed. And but you look at him, the difference in his fitness and his stamina as well as his sharpness. So it does take time, and the players will get used to that. In the first season, they've come through quite a lot to get where they are now. They're in touching distance, with Rangers, which for me is good for where they were at the start of the season. And they're only going to get stronger with the squad that they've brought in.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of clubs lately that have almost had a similar playing style and still do to what Celtic have at the moment in Britain, and Liverpool would be one example under Klopp, and Leeds under Bielsa as well. And I think those clubs, both in their first season had a lot of injury troubles, and to an extent they still do to an extent. Liverpool last season had a number of injuries. Leeds this year are going through something very similar. So it may just be something we have to deal with if we're going to have a team that plays with the high intensity that Ange's teams play with. It may just be something we have to deal with, but hopefully not to the extent we are at the moment. Jackie, have you ever played in a team that have had this amount of injuries as manager or when you were a player? And what does that kind of lead to in the dressing room? Do players get despondent when they're seeing other players pulling up, or can it have the opposite effect? Can it kind of galvanise everyone and think, if we can come through this period, we get our key players back, we can be even stronger?
Yeah, I don't think I've been to recollection similar with players getting injured that much. You do get injuries throughout the season, but I think it's been incredible the amount of, especially it all seems to be hamstring mostly. But again, they were taking great confidence, as I said, for certain games there when they've not had certain personnel that they've come out mentally. They've been strong. Ralston's goal, his late goal against Ross County. The reaction there, that was a game that could have went either way. So I think they've handled it well inside. They know obviously that's not going to be that way for forever. It's going to change, and there's more and more players coming in. Obviously, disappointing that you're going to lose a couple of players that went international duty, but the ones that are left behind and fit have to step up and handle it. If they're going to have a say in whether or not they play or not in Angie's team.
Yeah, and the other thing we know, John, is that Ange isn't going to use any excuses. He's not going to give the players any excuses at all.
No, Ange is resolute in his messaging, isn't he? He only has one message, and it's give everything for your team and give everything to win, regardless of what situation is or isn't happening. I mean, effectively out of your control when you pick up an injury like that against Cal McGregor. And what we know about Ange is that he doesn't really dwell too much on stuff that's outside of his control. So he'll go into this game against Hearts at Tynecastle battling, and I think that's what we'll see from the team. I think they're going to arrive at Tynecastle for a fight, and regardless of who's playing or what kind of squad we'll have on the pitch, that's the minimum you expect. And I think that's what you'll see. So I'm expecting an exciting game against Hearts.
Right, we'll pick our team then, or certainly our midfield in a couple of minutes. Just before then, I want to have a wee chat about these slumps that Celtic are having during games that we seem to be coasting. You know, I've got a few written down here. They all seem to be away from home, which is interesting. Alloa at the weekend, St Johnstone on Boxing Day, Hibs at Easter Road, Dundee a couple of weeks after that, Ferencváros even in the Europa League. We won all of those games in the end, but the endings were much nervier than they should have been. Those were games that we were well on top in, both in terms of the scoreline and the possession and the chances and dominance. And we conceded slack goals and had a nervy ending in pretty much all of those games. Have you got any theories, Jackie, as to why this seems to be happening? And if you do, please share them so we can correct it.
No, I think from you look at there, like even just the Alloa game at the weekend, because the game's not dead. There's so many chances. Jackie McNamara could have had a hat trick. You know, Maeda had some good chances as well. He could have had 2 or 3. So if the scoreline was 4 or 5-0 at that point, it's a different game. But because it's not, and then the energy in the stadium, and Celtic put so much energy into this throughout the game, you know, to sustain that, and when you're making changes through injury or, you know, or tactical or giving players rests, it does change the team structure and the intensity of that. And it gives the opposition a lift, because, you know, a game that should have been well and truly over, it's not, you know, and it's all right, we'll go and, I think you heard that Barry Ferguson after the game saying the tactics were always to go for the last sort of 10-15 minutes, because he knows they can't sustain pressure or pressing throughout the game, so they try and stay in the match. And I think most teams, that's what we'll be doing against Celtic this season, you know, to try and stay in, make sure they don't concede 2, 3, 4 goals in the first hour, to give themselves a chance to go at Celtic for the last sort of 30 minutes.
Where are we apportioning blame then, John? Because we need to have scapegoats in this channel. We have to have it. Defence or attack? Who you want to blame for this?
Blame the referees for not protecting the players. Seriously though, it comes down to not having that clinical edge in front of goal. I mean, Jackie said Maeda had chances, Giakoumakis had chances. In all the games that you've mentioned, Hamish, before Jackie spoke, I felt we had the chances to win the game and stick the ball away. We just don't seem to have that lethal edge at the moment. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if there is a theory. I mean, Callum McGregor's admitted that they have been speaking about it in the dressing room. Of course there will be. They know that that's the barrier between, you know, these kind of tight games and putting games away and romping to wins. I think if that aspect clicks, I think Celtic will be unstoppable for most teams this season. And it's just about wanting to see where it clicks. So I don't know if it's about blame. I don't know if it's just luck or if it's just what it is. But just that split second before the ball goes in the back of the net, that's where Celtic are lacking at the moment. Despite all the goals we're scoring, funnily enough, which is odd. But we need more of that. And that's what I liked about Giakoumakis' goal on Saturday. I know that he missed a couple of chances. He probably is frustrated himself. He didn't get more goals, but that kind of finishing ability from that cross is exactly what we need in this team. So I was at least heartened by that, and I would actually expect him to start up front against Hearts.
Yeah, I think defensively as well, I don't think they should get away with this whole thing either, because I think, there's a lot of games where we're, as I say, completely dominant and it's just a switch off, whether it's Starfelt or Welsh it was on Saturday. a lot of headed goals as well in these games I'm chatting about, just from memory. Hibs' goal was a corner. One of Dundee's goal was Joe Hart coming and the guy heading it in. The St Johnstone goal on Boxing Day was a header. It was a header on Saturday against Alloa. So hopefully, Christopher Julian coming back as well, if he comes back into the team at some stage, will make a real difference as well in terms of a bit of physical presence in there. In terms of our team for Wednesday then, guys, this is basically what we're left with. We put this out in last night's video as well. So clearly, if McGregor is going to be missing, Turnbull, Rogic, Maida, Kyogo, we're looking at centre mid and attacking mid as being where we're quite light. What do you make of that, Jackie, and what three would you pick for Wednesday night at Tynecastle?
I think he's still got plenty of options there. Beaton, I thought Hiraguchi, it took a slow one. I'd be surprised if he's fit for that. That looked a real bad one at the time. Beaton has done well and called upon. McCarthy, would he last the full game if he started? So I think possibly Beaton's sort of sitting. I would like to see Hatate again after his home debut. I thought he was excellent. He looked a real find for his first game, the man of the match. I'd like to see him in there.
And do you go for a O'Riley debut at Tynecastle? That's a big ask, isn't it, Jackie? But the options that we have, he might be forced into doing that.
Yeah, it might tweak his formation a little bit as well. You maybe have just like I know it's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. He doesn't really change a lot, Ange, but I still think he's got plenty there to pick from. He's got plenty of options, which, you go back 6 months, I think you'd be more concerned than what you are just now. The teams, they all know what they're doing, they know their jobs, and I think that's a good thing. That it's not like you're tossing a coin to see who's going to play or what system he's going to play. Everybody knows what he's going to do, and they know what's expected of him. So I think whoever he picks, they're more than capable of going there and doing well and winning the match. And
Jackie, you're a full back, so there's 4 at the moment who are viable for getting a starting slot. Which 2 would you go with? Would you go with Juranovic and Taylor, or would you want Ralston on one side, Juranovic on the other side, or is Liam Scales even pushing for a spot? What would be your 2 preferred fullbacks for a game like Tynecastle? Yeah, I think again it's a lot stronger than what it was, wasn't it? It was the start of the season. Juranovic, I think. I actually liked him playing in front as well of Ralston when he played in that. He's got real pace. So, Juranovic there, his set pieces as well, maybe give him the edge over Ralston slightly, but Ralston's been fantastic. Another side, with Scales and Taylor. Scales, I think, was get more of a physical presence in the boxes. I think maybe that's why he's played him certain games and Taylor other games, when they're a bit light in terms of their physicality. Especially at set pieces with Hearts. They lost the game for the set piece with John Souttar near the end, just a free kick in there. So that might be in Angie's thoughts as well. But the set pieces being important, so he could favour for Scales for that one. And I thought he did well the other night. A great ball for the first goal.
Quite like Liam Scales.
Yeah, I like him too. Hamish, what's your verdict here? What are you going for?
At fullback?
Yeah.
It's got to be Juranovic and Taylor. I think that's what Ange will go with. There's perhaps an argument that Ralston brings you a physicality that Juranovic maybe doesn't, but I think if we're honest, as good as Ralston's been this season, Juranovic is a Croatia right back, and he's going to be the number 1 right back going forward for Celtic, and I think Ange kind of realises that now. We've seen it in recent weeks when the big games come around. It's Juranovic that plays right back. The cup final was a big statement when he played Juranovic, I thought, rather than Ralston. So I think it'll be Juranovic and Greg Taylor. I don't think he will start Liam Scales, but I don't think there's a lot between Greg Taylor and Liam Scales, really, from what I've seen. So I'm not too bothered. I think that's the main thing. I'm not bothered. He can play any combination there. And I think they're all pretty able players. Certainly on the right-hand side, we've got 2 really good right-backs. This time last year, we didn't have one. Just going back to midfield, I just want to get both of your thoughts, just definitively whether Matt O'Riley is going to start at Tynecastle. John, you can go first.
I would play him. I mean, I think Ange likes those 2 more attacking midfielders, and I think he would want to preserve that as much as he can. The only reason O'Riley didn't play against Alloa is because his clearance didn't come through, between the FAs, I think. That's what Ange said on Friday. So it wasn't that he wasn't up to speed, or he's been playing regularly for the MK Dons. He's been in form. He's scoring goals. He's setting up goals. So why not? We've seen Ange throw players into it for big debuts already this season. I know that it's not ideal, but I would play him because I think you want to preserve that kind of creative too, and hopefully we get to see Hatate make a fool out of Halliday. So we'll see. But I would play O'Riley. I would give him a debut on Wednesday night.
Jackie?
Yeah, I'd start him. You paid a good bit of money for him, and brought him in and let other ones go out and loan because you're not going to use him. So I think it's a great one to start in that in handling the expectation. Tynecastle can be quite intimidating, but it's a good atmosphere. I always love playing there at Tynecastle. They're right on top of you. So for me, it'd be a great one for him to start, and getting about it and see how he handles it.
I sometimes think throwing in a new signing at a ground like Tynecastle is almost the right thing to do because they're almost in the game before they realise what they're doing, and their footballing ability shines through. I think we saw that with Scott Sinclair. He didn't start the game, but he came on and scored 2 or 3 minutes into his debut at Tynecastle. So hopefully we could see something similar. Who have you got holding in your midfield? If I'm assuming Hatate and O'Riley are in front. So is it Ideguchi, Jackie, or is it near Beaton or James McCarthy?
As I said, I think I'll be surprised if Ideguchi's fit. When seeing the challenge and stuff, I would go for Beaton.
Yeah.
Again, because of the set piece situation and his size. You've only got your 2 centre backs that can go and attack things. If you're going with the full backs that we're looking at, so I would put Beaton. I think he'll start Beaton protecting the back 4.
Yeah, never mind starting Beaton, but Beaton could be the captain for this one. I mean, if McGregor's missing, I know Joe Hart's had the armband. I know he got the armband from McGregor on Saturday, but captain, I think Beaton captained us against Betis and against St Johnstone, so he could be like our go-to man here. And I'm not too fussed because I think Beaton's been pretty good this season. I think he looks, a bit more focused under Ange than he has done in the last couple of seasons. I think he'll be. It's not often you say it, but I think he would be up for the battle against Hearts at Tynecastle. So I wouldn't have any issues with starting Beaton at all. Yeah, not at all.
And Jota on the left, Abada on the right, and Giakoumakis up front. Are we kind of all agreed with that?
I think so. But I think so. I mean, I just love James Forrest, but I could see why you would have Abada and keep him in the team after his goal on Saturday. I mean, that was outrageous bit of skill, and if you can have that kind of firepower in your team and that bit of magic, then I'm all for
it. Hearts injury news, because I know you all care so much. John Souttar likely to play against us. Robbie Nielsen says that's of course despite signing a pre-contract with Rangers recently. Benny Beningame could be back for Hearts. He's quite a good midfielder, but he hasn't played since November, so it could be a big day for him. Hearts are a really good side. I think there's an argument they're one of the best teams we've seen in Scotland for a good few years. People kind of forget they're a promoted side, but they're sitting in 3rd place. They're 8 points clear in 3rd place, so it's going to be a really, really tough evening for Celtic, but a big opportunity as well, Jackie. You touched on it already. Playing at Tynecastle, you loved it. Surely the Celtic players are going to relish it as well.
Absolutely. It's a great atmosphere to play in. And it's not a massive pitch as well. It's a good sized pitch, and I've always said I always love playing there. I think the players enjoy playing there as well in that environment. I think it's not too intimidating, but it's always nice when you win there as well. You can keep them quiet.
Not too intimidating. It seems intimidating when you're watching it.
No,
not when you're Celtic.
How you deal with it.
Not when you're Jackie McNamara.
Yeah, of course.
It's not quite the same as Ibrox going there, but it's good that they're on top of you. You hear everything. That they're shouting, and even though they take a throw in as a full back, and some of the shouts and stuff. So, no, I always like playing there. And I always wanted to do well.
You're really close to the fans as well, so when you're going to get the ball, you must be worried about getting a tap in the back or a slap over the head or something like that.
It's just you don't. It would be in your back. It wouldn't be in your front anyway. You know, it would be when you've turned your back, going back into it. But no, it was as I said, it was always a good place to play, Tynecastle.
Is there a game or a goal that springs out from playing at Tynecastle that you remember more than any?
Personally, I remember scoring on the 97-98 season. We actually battered them that game. When we're winning 1-0 and they scored, and Kotongo scored in like the 96th, 97th minute. Bobby Tate kept putting the time on, gave them a chance to pull them in back. But no, it was a good feeling scoring there. I scored at both ends for Celtic there, and it was good memories.
Don't know about you, Hamish, but maybe get Jackie in the team on Wednesday night. Help the squad out a wee bit if he scored there before. In all seriousness, this is a huge game for Celtic. This is going to be a big, massive game, exciting game. These are the games you live for as a fan as well. I mean, you want to go to Tynecastle, you want to see us beat Hearts. That's what it's all about. There's all sorts of reasons for that, and I thought we were unlucky to lose that game on the first weekend of the season, and I think the support the players will feel that they were unlucky to lose that game on the weekend of the season. So I'm looking forward to this. I think this is a bit of a revenge game for this team and for Ange. And I think we'll see a bit of that, even though there's a fair bit of change in personnel. I think we'll see a bit of that on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and probably a bit of revenge in the air for them as well after the way the last game went, the way they felt certainly after the last game. Robbie Nielsen's comments. So
they're all talk.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they are all talk, and hopefully Celtic will walk the walk on Wednesday night. Guys, we'll leave it there for now. I think we're catching back up with Jackie next week ahead of the big derby, so hopefully we've got a couple of wins to look back on at that stage. Thanks very much. Thanks everyone for tuning in and watching this video. We're back tomorrow with the big preview for Tynecastle.